Block prep has been done. I'm going to show you what we did to do the block prep, and maybe it can help somebody in the future. Don't worry about the block on the outside. That's just dirt. We're going to take everything off and give it a proper rub and scrub after we're done with the epoxy in it. So now we're done prepping for the epoxy. So you'll see we did some masking or painter's tape or duct tape, whatever you want to call it. You do it, lay it over completely, so it must be covered in your whole deck, basically your top where your gasket will sit. Then you cut it out completely on the inside, so you must have no overhang of tape. Also make sure there's no glue stuff. So a lot of times you get a bout of water contamination, not water. Some people don't run enough cooling in their cars, and it makes a on your cylinder walls, it gives you a calcium impact. So scrub it down. This must be scrubbed. You can use like a screwdriver, like a standing knife, and then lastly scuff it up with a bit of bright scotch, so you can clean it nicely, and it can bond basically. So you don't want any of that loose stuff. Then we're still going to blow this one out one more time, but then blow it out. You can also, while cleaning inside, use some wheel cleaner, brake cleaner, anything like that. That mustn't be any oily base, so like a wheel cleaner or brake cleaner will clean it out nicely. Then after that, it needs to be level. I just use the angle gauge, but you can use a level gauge or anything like that. So it must be level to this side and to the longitudinal side. Both sides must be level. And then the next step of prepping, okay, we have cylinder walls must be clean inside completely, and then next step would be your level. That's done. And then you go to your water jacket port up here, close that completely off, so when you put salt in, it doesn't come out. You can use salt or sugar, even a big water one here. If it's N55 or N54, it's very similar. You must just close all those off. So you close this port and that port off here. And then, so I'm going to use basically these cans that you can, I don't know, it's a general DIY thing. So I put salt in here. You can use salt or sugar, your choice. And I just cut them so it's a bit bigger on the inside, so it can chuck in. Now some people I see use disposable those cups. What works for you, just make sure something that's not going to mess, that you can get a nice angle at throwing. So then secondly, after that, you need to see how far you're gonna throw your salt or your sugar, because you're gonna throw your epoxy above that. So you want to basically throw it up to your level of your water port. So if you look in the block, there is your water port. Well, it's hard to see. You must close that water port with salt, so you don't have epoxy closing it. So you're basically gonna close up to your water port. That's gonna be your level of salt, and then above that will be your epoxy. So if we go from there, we can start. You want to try and throw it level, but there's another trick I'm going to show you now. Before we start doing, you take a bolt with a little washer, and then you measure, so you get the right height bolt with your washer to that water port that you want to be high as that. So when you throw, you can just take that bolt and run it over and make sure it's level and it's not like wonky. So we'll do that on the next step. Let me get a bolt and show you. So here's the bolt. We just cut a bolt with a washer. It's a normal bolt and washer. So we cut the bolt and washer so it is the right height that we want to. So we just measured just above it thing, water jacket. So when we put the salt in, we'll just basically take this and move it around so it is, sorry, my arm's a bit scabbing with a new Tech 2, busy in recovery here. Okay, so now we can basically start pouring the Eugene, come pour this fast. So we just take it in layers. We just fill it all the way around as you can see the salt. Yeah, there's a salt. So you basically put a salt in evenly as much as possible, but you could still move it around. So you lay it up till where we need it, basically. Because if you put too much in there, it's going to be hard to get it out in a small quantity. So that's why you don't want to over pour it, sorry. So we're just doing a basic. So I'm just going to fast forward and to where we have it, but you just throw it level, and then afterwards we're going to go around with the bolts, which I'll show you now. Okay, so one side is poured, as you can see, nice and level. He's busy pouring the last side, that side. So these little containers work very nicely if you can get yourself similar something to that, whichever you prefer. But I'm going to show now. So there you have your bolt and your level, and you just move it all around. Just move it around, and then you have your level. So salt, doesn't matter if you use salt or sugar. Then you have your level. We're doing the same with the other side, and then I'm going to take the next step to start pouring the epoxy, which I'll show now. So we'll move on to that now. Okay, so now I mixed the epoxy. It's a 2-part epoxy, and then all the salts in. As you can see, it's nice and level all the way around. And the epoxy is a 2-part. It's like green, yellowish. You mix the hardener and the resin. I only mixed half to first see what it does, but it becomes blue. Notably, apparently, you only got like 20 minutes of work time, or 15 to 20, depends on what temperature you are at of work time with the epoxy before it sets down. And then they say the block must be at like room temperature. So we just went with a heat gun and heated the block a little bit up, and then I'm going to start throwing it. I put it in this cup that I can squeeze and throw. I was first going to put it in one of those small things, like the cups that we did the salt with, but I don't know, it seemed like it's going to be too much work or struggle to put it over there. So I'm going to try and do it with this, and then we see from there. Eugene, hold for me here, please. Okay, you can switch off there. Okay, now we're gonna literally see how good this works. If it flops, it's Eugene's fault. He was the one to say to use this. Okay. Just try and throw it evenly. Basically layers again, you can come over and do it again. Then overthrow it. So you'll see here, now it's a little bit more on the one side, a little bit more on the one side than the other side. Okay, so we had to cut the video a little bit. Future reference, we put tape on this water pot, and as soon as we started pouring, it started coming out of there because the tape didn't want to stick nicely there, and we had to make a quick maneuver to hold it in place. So if I was you, make sure you get something that blocks the thing off permanently, not permanently but very tightly, that it's not gonna, because basically the salt gave away a little bit and we gave a bit, it started dropping, the liquid started coming out. So make sure whatever you have is very sturdy, that it's not gonna come, and we had to do a quick repair, come out and do whatever it's not supposed to do. So one side is poured now after our repair here. One side is poured, one side still has some salt in it. So we're going to put a second one and then we go from there. So Eugene will be pouring. Let's see how steady his hand is. Must be a bit slower, Eugene. Steady. The trick is to try and throw it in layers so it gets everywhere nicely, but don't try and fill it with one pass. Rather come over, because you don't want to get it over your deck. If you get it too high, you also have a bit of an issue. Actually, with working here, this part of our tape got a bit damaged. So must be very careful not to pour on that deck there, and then so we went ahead and basically poured it in there as well. So you'll see we have some over, and you just brush it off, because you can put a shim kit in there. Well, we call it a shim kit. I don't know if anybody else does it, because you have a little weak point here where the slit in the cylinders are. So I filled it up and then just took the excess off that as well. But so it's basically done. They say about 30 minutes, and you dry, take it off for it to dry. You take the tape off. So I suppose the next step will be when we take the tape off. Okay, it's about 48 hours later after we poured the epoxy. Now you can see salt fur out. We threw the water ports open, and it's all nice and set. So next step would be to mark with a gasket where you're gonna drill the holes. So you line up the gasket nicely, basically there. Trying to see, this is just the old gasket that was on the motor before. You'll see here I already made some marks. Paint marker, you can use whatever you want. Then you have those small little holes there, and then you have these ones. So I decided to put two drill bits, holes per one of these, because you can space them out nicely and fit nicely. This is the main one here, so here you want to drill a bit bigger on this one here than you would, because that's your main water port. And then like all these ones here, so let's see if how we can fit them in. You can do maybe 3 holes there per one. You'll see, or space them out to 2, but I think 3 should fit nicely. And yeah, we can fit 2 there as well. 1, 2, 3 holes. 1, 2, 3 holes. Basically that's what it comes down to. You can decide if you want to put 2 or 3 holes. Depends what drill bit size you're going to use. I'm going to see that now. But that's the next step of epoxying your block. and I want to show you this block still needs to be cleaned on top, a nice shave. But if you look on the center ports, it filled up nicely, the epoxy went in, so you have basically solid at this line here as well, because normally they love to crack here, these blocks love to crack here where this line cut is in, so we made sure it fills up all the way in these ports as well. So that's the next step of epoxy. So I'll take some photos now or a little video after we drilled some holes in here and show you how it looks. So as you guys can see, we're busy punching just where we're gonna drill. Always make a small punch hole, so you don't have your drill slipping when you start drilling. But also don't start and hammer away, like just go very softly. So remember, it still is a epoxy, so if you put too much of a beating on it, you might crack it. So you just want to have a nice small tap where you can start drilling from, and then there you can see we already drilled one hole. This was a test to see, I might go one bigger, but you also don't want to make it too big so you take away too much wall and you take away all the strength of it. So I might just leave it there, go one size bigger, we'll see. Also, all the drill on the bottom when you go through, so you don't slip and hit the deck. So don't push down on your drill too much. See, otherwise you're going to slip and you're going to hit the deck, and then you have a bit of an issue. And there's your another hole, 2 of them. Remember, this is just for your water ports. So and then focus on the camera, so you can see there's 2 of them. We might go small, a little bigger. I'll decide just now when I see to it. Okay, previously we stated that you have to hold the drill at the bottom. So as we go along, we just thought about something different, everybody to their own, but for us we just took a small little pipe that the drill can't hit the deck when you go down. So I'll show you how nicely that works. So this is just a small little rubber pipe. And then when you're through, you basically, your drill goes sets on this, because it's very hard to catch it when it slips, and you don't hit the deck at all. Nice little trick. Okay, come on. Running water through it to get all the pores nice and done. Okay, there's it. The block's done, epoxy is done, cleaned.